What's going on, guys? Matt Schaeffer back here from Sound Effects, talking to you about another Musaic audiophile conversion. Again, this one here in a Tesla P100D. This customer traveled all the way from Illinois to get this done. Now, this was a client, and I get these phone calls a lot from guys with all sorts of cars, really, where someone gets an install done from another shop and they're not happy about it. They don't believe it's correct. So this is a perfect scenario of that. Had another system installed, brought it to us. We were originally going to reinstall everything, and then we kind of evaluated it and we changed up all the equipment. So basically we started fresh with all new stuff and did our own design, our own take. Obviously, if you're going to travel here, you might as well get it done the way that we would do it. So looking into the trunk, this one is of course different than any other Tesla that I've ever done. So with most of my designs for any car, I generally take a one-off approach to make it custom for each client, engineered for that client. So this one is going to be different than all the other Teslas that you've seen. This one here, sub box on the right side. And the reason we did this, the client wanted us to put it on the right side because the charge port is on this side here. And he hasn't had any issues, but obviously, just in case for whatever reason they ever had to get to the charge port, you can still pull down this carpet flap to get to it and service it. Whereas there's nothing really on the passenger side. There's a few modules that sit behind where the sub enclosure is, but nothing that's really that necessary. Now, it's actually very easy to get to the subwoofer. So basically, this whole thing pulls out. You just use a hook pick and pull this out. It's all attached, and then the subwoofer sits right behind it. In this case, we use a Raven 10-inch subwoofer, and this is actually made by Orca Designs in Camarillo, California. They're good friends of mine, and they make spectacular equipment. And if you're familiar with the Illusion line, it's kind of reminiscent of a C10XL. Very, very good sub, neodymium magnet. This thing takes 800 watts to about 1600 watts. Right now we're using it on a Moscone Pro Series mono amplifier. So this thing's getting plenty of power, sounds awesome. So the Raven 10 kind of gives you the output of what a 10W7 from JL Audio would be, but it is a lot smaller, so it's a lot more convenient to fit in a location like this. Doesn't weigh as much, obviously. You can kind of see the design of the subwoofer enclosure we went with. Kept it very, very simple. The grill here that you see up close is actually made out of acrylic. You see it shiny, see the reflection in there. Of course, we have our Musaic M logo to show who exactly built it. We have the silver trim here, again, sub box. So if you ever did have to take this out, it's actually really, really easy to take out. So obviously you can pull this grill out, and then once the grill is out, you can unbolt the 10-inch subwoofer, and then there's two Allens on the bottom, one Allen on the top that basically bolt to the frame, and then this whole thing pops right out. So it couldn't be easier. Obviously bolts into place, it's not sheet metal screws, so obviously it can go in and out of the same spot hundreds and hundreds of times. Over here, we supplemented this system with a lithium-ion battery. We use this location down here to do that. So as you can see, we have our Tesla logo. We have the little battery logo showing what hides underneath this panel. If you pull this up here, you can see there's magnets attached to the bottom, magnets attached to the frame there, and we have a battery hold down that we created, obviously the whole bracketry that we created. And yeah, this is a lithium-ion battery. It's basically a replacement that you can also put in the front of the car. It has a lot longer of a cycle life than, say, an AGM battery. And the battery gives us a nice little buffer when we add multiple Class AB amplifiers. It's not necessary, but obviously any additional cushion or power distribution you can put back here is going to help. So if you've seen my other videos, you've heard me talk about amplifiers and installing them into a Tesla, and it's very quite simple. A lot of people have a misconception that you can't add anything to this car because There's just no power to do so. But you know, you have to realize that, you know, the traction battery of this car is, picture, you know, 200 AGM batteries wired in parallel, hooked up to a system. You know, how long do you think it can run on that without it being drained? The traction battery connects to the 12-volt battery on a per voltage basis. If the voltage drops below a certain point, you have the instant floodgates that open from the traction battery to the 12-volt battery. So you have very, very, very stable voltage in this car because you have an influx of immediate power coming from the traction battery, okay? Powering these amplifiers, the amperage that this is going to pull as you're sitting in the car is going to do absolutely nothing to the range at all. I've been doing a ton of systems to these cars. You know, before I started doing bigger systems in this car, I talked to some engineers from Tesla, from the powertrain division, to ask them exactly what impact a big system would have on this. And it's nothing. You know, if you think about the amount of power that this car consumes driving down the road at, say, 60, 65 miles an hour, it's quite a lot compared to, you know, a system running. You know, with that being said, when we do stuff in this car, it is the best car to do anything in. It is extremely quiet. It does not make noise. So obviously, you're already winning when you don't have that engine noise to overcome and have to turn everything up and hear the rattles. You know, it's just a very, very, very quiet car. So underneath this removable panel where the factory storage is, you have where we typically install the amplifiers. In this case, we did 3 Mosconi Pro amplifiers. We have 2 4-channels, so that's a 4-channel there, which is going to power the mid and the tweet from the Focal Utopia number 7 front 3-way kit. We have another 4-channel, which is going to power the front mid bass woofers, and it's also going to power the rear speakers. Then we have our monoblock 1000-watt amplifier here that's going to power our Raven sub. So from a design standpoint, you can see we kind of kept the same materials that you see in the car. We have the black Alcantara suede, the black carpet, silver trim, and in this case, he's got a lot of red accents on the car. Anytime you have a gray car, you know, the red accents, like, you know, the brake calipers and other things within the car, really sets off the black, gray, silver combination. So that's exactly what we did there. Obviously, we tied in the red, the same kind of design that you see on the sub box. We carried it into the amp rack as well. So I have an acrylic adapter here that I made, and basically it attaches to all the amplifiers, and it makes all those amps kind of look like it's one big amp. Blends them all together, which is pretty cool. And we have our lit Tesla emblem. So obviously when you pop the trunk, it lights up the rear lights, basically hooked up off a relay to this light here, which then can illuminate all our extra stuff here. So again, we have a light under here. We have this piece of acrylic lit up, which lights up this Tesla logo here as well. All of these run off of a Mosconi 8-12 Aerospace DSP, which is hidden right underneath this cover here. Here's a few pictures of what this whole assembly looks like without the cover on it. So the wiring, everything is labeled. Anyone in the future has to work on it. There's a very, very detailed labeling on each piece of equipment showing exactly what everything is and what input it is, what RCA it is, to make it very, very easy to work on. So again, everything covers up. There's fans on all of those, but they don't really heat up that much. There's plenty of room. You can leave the cover on, you can leave it off, doesn't really matter. You can play this car at a very, very high volume for an extremely long time, and you know, the fans really don't even kick on. So coming into the car, looking at the A-pillars, I basically fabricated new housings in the pillar. And if you've seen some of the Teslas that I've done in the past, I've used the mid and the tweet in this pillar, but I've kind of flush mounted them in to where you can see each individual speaker. In this case, I made a whole assembly with a grill that goes over everything. So, you know, looking at it from here, it's flushed in. It does not really protrude out. It doesn't even really add much mass onto the pillar. Typically, these playing off axis, if they were on axis, then they would look like a monstrosity and really wouldn't look factory. So in this case, going off axis across the dash like most factory A-pillars. So it sounds really good. the Utopias have a really good off-axis response. You can see they're wrapped in matching Alcantara. You have your black acrylic. You have, of course, the Musaic M logo there on the front, and then you have silver trim and the press grille there with grill cloth over top of the grill itself. So talking about the functionality of how the factory radio works and how you would use it inside the car, the Mosconi DSP controller right here, as you see it flanked by a S-Quart radar laser controller. Obviously this still shuts like normal. You can open it up, and obviously this is your main volume knob for preset 2. So start talking about preset 1, we have the factory radio. Anything that runs through the factory radio will play on preset 1. So if you want to listen to navigation or the streaming app, the radio app, tune in, whatever it is, stream from your phone, you can do that on preset 1. Obviously you still have all the functionality, driving, all that kind of stuff, autopilot, turn signals, Bluetooth, all that works through preset 1. Preset 2, we use AMAS, and basically what the AMAS chip is, it's a high resolution Bluetooth codec chip where we can take a high-res device, as such this Astel and Kern high-res player. This is the SP1000, this is their flagship. It's about $3,500, but it is absolutely amazing. It's a piece of art and it's audio quality gold. So we pair this to the AMAS chip. So we can basically play any file format from this, whether it be DSD or anything else. If you have a large file library in high res, you don't have to discriminate and have, say, only 24, 192 and below, which you could only run natively through the digital coax of the 8 to 12. So you don't have to worry about getting your music in a certain format. This will put any of those music codecs through the digital sound processor. Obviously this is always going to sound much better. When we talk about the factory radio, we talk about, you know, they're just building this to play compressed music, right? So the radio's not going to have great DACs. There's going to be a preset EQ curve in this thing that obviously you can correct through the DSP, but you're going to be stuck if you're just trying to swap out some speakers, right? Because swapping out speakers, you're still going to have the same exact signal going to the speakers. So talk about a 4K TV. If you buy a 4K TV, bring it home, and you still have a VHS player plugged into it, guess what? It's going to look like crap. So with that being said, you got to upgrade that VHS player to a 4K player. So in this case, this is our 4K player, which is giving its native signal directly to the digital sound processor. With the factory radio, we can correct the factory EQ curve to make it sound the best way possible, but keep in mind, we're still using crappy DACs and crappy equipment that comes with the factory radio. They don't make this for audio quality. So that's why anything on preset 2 would always sound much better, even if you compare streaming your phone to the factory Tesla radio versus streaming it directly to the AMAS. The AMAS, you're going to get a perfect digital connection, and it's going to be a full 20 to 20,000 hertz flat perfect signal to work with. So that being said, anytime we want to listen to and enjoy our music, that's preset 2. If you just want to hear some podcasts or, you know, some audio things, you can listen to that through preset number 1. Again, looking in the door, we have the Focal Utopia number 7 3-way kit, all run active. We have the woofer there in the door. We have the mid tweet there on the A-pillar. In the back, we did the Focal Flax coax. So basically, this was really the only thing that we kept from the install that he had previously done. That's a fine speaker for the back of this car, so we just decided to go ahead and keep it. So like always, guys, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want to follow what we do. If you want to see more builds like this, if you're a Tesla customer, Tesla owner, check out all the other Tesla builds that we've done. You can see them in my video history. We've done a ton of these cars, ton of different ways. All of them look completely different from the other ones. All have their own unique spin for each individual client. So if you want to contact me on a build that you want to do, whether it be a Tesla or some other car, here's my email right here. Here is my phone number that you can call. You can also text. and you can, it is a direct line to me, so we can talk about whatever the project is. Here's our Instagram. Here's my personal one, followed by the 2 work Instagrams. We have Musaic_design, Sound Effects Home Car, and at The Real Matty S, which is myself. So like always, guys, I appreciate your support. I appreciate the feedback, and until next time, I'll catch you later.